Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose.
All right, welcome everybody to episode 150 of the On Purpose podcast. Believe it or not, team, we are 3 days away. March 6th is our 3-year anniversary, and I am super excited and humbled to have a guy on that meant a lot to my life when I uprooted my family and moved us to Fort Collins, Colorado, believing in what we could become, but not knowing for sure. This guy was a mentor to me and somebody I extremely looked up to and admired. So today I am excited to have with you guys my good friend, Marc Neal. How are you doing, Marc?
I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate that. Man, it's like very humbling, to say the least.
Dude, I still remember 2001, I got hired. So I was testing in 2000.
Yeah.
I'll still never forget that day. I was sitting in the lobby at 300 LaPorte Avenue with my shirt and tie because I don't believe in sports coats. People know me, know I don't like sports coats. Shirt and tie, and I'm sitting out there with couple homeless dudes who were arguing with the clerks at the records trying to get their stuff back, and probably a dozen police officers walked by me and just looked at me and didn't say a word. It was clear I didn't belong. I was not a homeless dude looking to get shit back. And I remember you walked by and like asked me to step over and asked me how I was doing, told me not to be nervous, and I just was like, gosh, man, like all these other people could have done that, but only Marc actually cared enough about the random guy sitting in the lobby to take time to make sure, one, I didn't need help, two, I knew what I was there for, and three, to offer encouragement. And that's always been something, Marc, I don't know if I've ever shared with you, but it's always been something in my head that I'm like, okay, if I see somebody, I never shy away from an opportunity to just say hi to them. So I want to thank you for that, Marc.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, seriously, humbling. You know, I guess that's the thing, is that to me, it wasn't even like a conscious thought, right? Like, it wasn't like, oh, hey, I've got to go do this. It's just, it's just, I guess, as we'll talk about it, but that's just kind of how I look at things, man. It's like, that's my biggest thing is, creating a relationship.
Well, and it's funny to me, right? Because like I look at you and you're a Division I football player. You're a big, athletic, strong, tough dude who literally could just walk by me and be like, dude, I could just, like, I don't have time for you. Like I would say you've achieved that stuff to where you could look at me and be like, I don't have time to talk to a new guy. But I would venture to say the other 12 cops that walked by me should have been talking to me like I was at their level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they didn't have no time.
Whatever, man. Though, that's you say that, and to me, that you say, okay, yeah, you played Division I football and all that stuff, and yeah, I did, and everything, and all the stuff that I've done. But I think, to me, that puts me in a better position to be that type of person, to be that type of person who's a creator, a relationship developer, a person who tries to bring people together, right, and tries to, kind of spark that positivity in relationships, to increase that connection, because I have experienced so many different situations where, you are on the outside, or it is an adversarial situation, and, how do you, kind of change that for the better, right? How do you change that for a positive? Something that could be neutral or negative, how do you make it positive?
Yeah.
I
love it. I love it.
No, I appreciate that.
That's good. All right, man. But hey, now here's the deal, Marc. This is just like a workout. I'm not going to put you in and get you on the bench press and tell you to start going 400 pounds. I got to warm you up, my friend. We got to get you warmed up. All right, here we go, Marc. Ready? Rapid fire warm up. You get one food. You're stranded on the island for the rest of your life. You get one food. What are you going to eat?
One food
for the rest of your life, bro.
Man, can I have a food and a drink?
We gonna make a smoothie or something?
No, I just want a food and a drink. I gotta have a drink.
Let me hear it. Then I'll tell you.
All right. For food, man, I'm gonna have to go with as crazy as it may sound, I'm back into it. Cane's chicken fingers, man.
Oh, Cane's is really, really good, man.
Cane's chicken fingers, man.
Are you gonna do sweet tea to wash it down, or what are you doing?
No. I'm gonna do Thai tea with boba. That's my drink now. Thai tea with boba.
And Cane's. Cane's
And
chicken.
Cane's.
Are you using a sauce or no sauce?
Oh God, sauce, man, sauce.
All right. Yeah, I guess I'll let that. I mean, it's your
Extra.
island. Who am I to tell you,
It's
Mark?
it's my world.
All right. You get one superpower. What would it be, and why would you want it?
One superpower. I think it would be one superpower would be the ability to motivate. The ability to motivate. Because and we've talked about this before, you really can't motivate anybody to do anything. You can give them understanding and you can give them education and give them information, but you can't motivate them to do anything. But I think for me, if I could have a superpower, it would be to be able to more or less manipulate people into doing things by motivating them. And we'll talk about it, I'm sure, as we go, but it's just that ability to be able to get people to change their outlook, like people who are self-centered, people who are have no compassion, but being able to motivate them to be compassionate, to be empathetic, to think interactionally. That'd be the superpower I'd want to have.
Oh, I love that. That's good. That's real good. All right, you get dinner with one person. A person can be dead or alive. Who is it? What do you want to learn?
James Baldwin. James Baldwin. Yeah.
What do you want to learn? Yeah, what do you want to get out of him?
Man, I just want to experience him in real life. Just to talk with him spontaneously, and not to garner his knowledge and his experience through his works, that I have, like, I don't know, a half a dozen or a dozen of his books, but to be able to just ask questions of him.
Yes.
Right. Because just his perspective of the person he was and at the time that he lived, he has so much charity and so much character and so much love for people who had no love for him, right?
Right.
And just his ability to kind of sift through things and see things in a very real way. Yeah,
gosh,
he's the one.
Yeah, what book is your favorite of his?
Oh my God, but let's see, I'm looking at him right now. The Fire Next Time is probably my favorite. I've read it like 3 or 4 times. But The Fire Next Time is fantastic. Notes of a Native Son is another good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Fire Next Time, which spawned an anthology, The Fire This Time, which is a more current and updated anthology of writers kind of hearkening back to what he was talking about in The Fire. Did we get cut off?
Yeah, no, you're good. I was just letting you finish.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
James Baldwin, that's a good one, man. I actually had to look him. I knew I'd recognize the name. I had to look him up.
But he's just what he did and how he lived, and his experiences, living here and then moving to France and living in France for a long time, and then coming back to the United States, and just as I look at him, he's probably one of the people that I feel most connected to, like we have a similar feeling about how we fit into our world or don't fit into our world.
Sure.
And just he's always resonated with me, just how he looks and how he perceives conditions, the human condition, the race situation and everything in the US, and how he's talking about stuff in the 50s and 60s that you're still like, damn, man, we're still dealing with that today.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he passed away in 87, so.
Yeah. But if there's one, if you and your listeners, man, is to tune into, it's on YouTube. It's a debate that he had. I think it was at Harvard, I think it was at Harvard, a debate that he had in the 60s with William F. Buckley Jr. And man, he delivers such a just such a moving like his message
Yeah.
is
Huh.
just so powerful in that. But yeah,
Well,
it's on YouTube.
all right. Well, we'll have to look that up. I feel
Yeah.
like you're warmed up, man. You're ready to go to the heavy lifting already.
I'm ready, but I'm ready.
You're good. Hey, I
Uh,
wanted to, wherever you want to go, but I wanted to talk one thing. Like, you were the first guy that I saw walk away from law enforcement at what I would say like your peak. Like, you were very,
Mhm.
very talented.
Yeah.
And really roll the dice on yourself, you know, selling a house and really going all in a small business. And I believe at one point you actually lived in a camper out back of the laundromats, right?
Yep. And I'd be there today if we could.
Yeah. Talk to me about, because you were doing it before it was a cool thing to do, like me now.
Yeah. Like it's cool now because you're doing it. You made it cool. I just started doing it.
You did it. You did it first, but you were at first when I was like, wait a second, this is possible. So talk to me about facing the fears
Yeah.
and getting that leap to really, like, I would just say you bet on yourself. So talk us through that transition.
Yeah. You know, I appreciate that how you see it, because in all reality, a lot of people in law enforcement didn't see it that way. A lot of people in law enforcement, and this is where I kind of have, talk about policing, is that, for as brave as we like to make our police officers out, and as fearless and all this stuff, and it, is that the law enforcement community is a fairly scared community as far as stepping out and doing new things,
Yes.
right? As far as taking chances, like you go, oh well, police officers take chances every day. Not really, in some respects. But what I'm talking about, like you say, that you're willing to gamble on yourself, right? Take a chance on yourself. And I kind of looked at it the opposite way, is that yeah, I did just kind of take off at the top of my game, so to speak. I mean, I was, on SWAT team, doing that, team leader, trainer. I was doing all these things. But what the problem was, and we've spoken about this numerous times, is that within the agency, they weren't willing to bet on me, right?
Sure.
They weren't willing. They were willing to bet on me in the real terms, like when people's lives were on the line. They were like, yeah, let's give the decision to Mark, right? Kind of, I felt like kind of like a little mini Jordan, right? But right, when the game's on the line, here, you make the decision. All right, cool. I'm glad. I want that because I had developed the ability to make good tactical decisions over my career because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be good at that. But I felt like the agency never wanted to take the chance on me and never wanted to invest in me to help develop the agency, right?
Right.
To help develop the other officers in the agency and how the agency looked. And so in that respect, I was like, you know what? You're not willing to take a chance on me. I know what I can do. I know
Sure.
my value. And so it was almost like if I stayed, I would be cheating myself, right? If I stayed, that would be because of the fear. And like, oh, I'm afraid to go out into the real world and try to get a real job or to try to make things myself, start my own business and do my own thing. And so it was almost like the opposite, right? It wasn't the fear of failure on going out on my own. It was the fear of how I would look back on myself if I stayed,
Yes,
right?
I love that.
And so when I decided to, a lot of that was also based on Allie, my wife, right? Because she had come back and she had been training in yoga. She went to India to learn yoga, and she came back and she was like, you know what, I'm kind of done doing this job, and she'd been there 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there like, and I was listening to her, and actually she was one who really sparked it in me to go, huh, yeah, if I'm not feeling it right anymore, then I need to be making a change, because I also don't. My big thing is I didn't want to shortchange the citizens of Fort Collins by not being 100% into what I was doing.
Sure.
You
But
know?
I loved what you said there. You weren't afraid to stay where you were. You were afraid of not becoming who you could become.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And I
yeah.
think so many people are afraid of giving up the comforts of what they already know, more so than they're afraid of not knowing who they might be.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like the whole mentality, right? Of, so the lion with the thorn in his paw, right?
Yeah.
So we don't get the thorn picked out because we're afraid it's going to hurt, right? So, but it hurts to have the thorn in there. But you know what? We get used to that pain.
Right.
We become accustomed to that pain, and we compensate for it, right? We limp, so we don't walk on that paw as heavy.
Yeah.
And we do all this stuff, so I can live with that. Hey, I got this figured out. But somebody's gonna come on, hey, let me help, let me take it out, and they're like, oh, that's gonna hurt to take out, right?
Sure.
And one time, one my oldest grandson, JJ, I saw it in him in a moment. He was messing around with a cactus, right? Touched the cactus, got the cactus, and Maji, his Maji grandmother, Allie said, don't touch the cactus. And he had to do it. And he's like, ow, 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 ow. And so then she's like, well, let me get it out. And he's like, no, 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 don't touch it. Right. So in that moment, he had already become more comfortable with the pain of having that thorn in than of picking it out.
Yeah.
And that's what we do, right? And we are comfortable with that pain. We're comfortable with that misery, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, and in so many ways, reading different works of people and different things, I've come to really understand the whole saying that, yeah, you can be afraid of failure and you might fail, but what if you don't?
Right.
What if you
Absolutely.
succeed, right? Yeah, you can focus on failing, but why not focus on succeeding?
So what was the hardest moment for you when you stepped away? Because you guys are both,
Yeah.
Guaranteed pay, benefits, all that
Yep.
good stuff that
Yep.
comes with it. Going into laundromats, running
Yep.
laundromats. And what was the moment where you're like, wait a second, this is my new life?
Oh man. When essentially when our insurance stopped, right?
Health
And we're like,
insurance.
oh yeah, we got to worry about that ourselves. We're like, oh man, and that was the thing when you're like going, oh, I'm playing without a net here, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a safety net now, and because you know it that as long as police, you hear it in policing, right? Oh, 99.9% of the police are doing a great decades in this profession, that it's not 99% of people doing a great job. It's more like 30%. And you have like 50 to 60% who are, not screwing up too badly. So, right. So
There's some truth to that.
so they can keep their job.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, so they keep their job. And so, and then there's like a real small percentage that's just wreaking havoc on the communities.
Yeah.
And those are the ones we see in the news.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about it is that's kind of where where we're is because you can just do the minimal, right? The minimally acceptable, like we say, you can be a 3 on the FTO scale, and as long as you're a 3, you're minimally acceptable.
Yeah.
And it was just that realization that, wow, we have to perform now in order to be compensated, right?
Yeah.
In order to be rewarded. We can't just get by.
Yeah.
We can't just do the minimum. We have to really stand out. And then that's when I kind of realized, like, well, Mark, you it's put up or shut up. You said you're more valuable than this. So now you've got to prove it.
Yeah. Yeah. And how long did you, so talk me through deciding to live in an RV out back of your laundromat?
But we had the laundromats down in Denver. We were living in Fort Collins, so we were commuting at least an hour to come down and work, take care of things, do all this stuff. We had employees, but we still had to come down and take care of things. And it was just getting to be so much. And all the kids were moving out. Kids were getting older, moving out, and we were down to the last two boys. And the Riley, the second youngest, he was about to graduate, and we're like, you know what? And we said after he graduates, down to one, Christian, he can go live with his dad some of the times, whatever. And he actually ended up just finishing high school early and moving with us down to Denver. But we said it's going to be better if we move down there. So we're going to sell our house, and we started thinking about it, and we're like, well, what are we going to do? Well, we said, well, what, the RV thing was just kind of starting to take off.
What year was that? Real quick. What year was that?
2015.
2015. So it was
2014, 2015. Yeah.
Well before the current RV craze.
Yeah. It was just starting to be like a little, thought in people's minds that you might be able to do this. And we were going, well, you know what? What do we need? What do we need from our house? We don't need to have kids. Rooms for kids because they're all moving out. We don't need this. We don't need that. And we were like, you know what? What about if we looked at living in an RV? So we thought about getting RV space down here in Denver. I started looking into it, and I was like, man, they want like $1,000, $1,500 for a concrete slab department.
Yeah.
And we started looking at it. I said, this just doesn't make sense to us. Because we weren't making a lot of money at the time, right? And so we were trying to keep our savings and trying to just get by on the minimal. And so, I said, hey, I go, well, I went to the back of our laundromat and I measured. I said, all right, we can put this big of a motorhome back here. So then I started looking for the motorhome. And, I kind of went backwards on our landlord. I said, hey, we were moving, we're living in an RV and we're moving down to Denver, and the place where we were going to put it backed out on us. So is it okay if we just park it here in the back for a month or two?
Yeah.
and they're like, yeah, okay. Cause they really didn't care. We were outside. It was our place. It didn't interfere with anything else, no other parking or anything like that. And so they were like, yeah, whatever. And 20 months later, we finally sold it because our shopping center got bought by some new developers, and then they said, hey, are you planning on moving or something like that? They more or less implying that we couldn't keep it there.
Yeah.
Which was fine because we ended up closing that laundromat anyway because they wanted to go a different direction.
Sure.
But yeah, so we did almost 2 years living behind our laundromat. And
Christian too, the three of you, or just you and Ali?
Christian moved in for about a week and a half, and then he ended up moving in with one of his sisters.
Okay. What was the greatest lesson you learned living in your RV for almost 2 years?
That we in this society in the United States, we accumulate a lot of stuff for the benefit of others, not for our benefit.
Talk me through that.
So we have we need a 3-bedroom house, but we get a 5-bedroom house so that we have a guest room and we have an office. Right?
Yeah.
And so why do we have a guest room? Well, because somebody might come visit us once a year, and we want to be able to show that we're doing well enough to afford their own room specifically for them one time out of the year, right? One night out of the year that we don't use for anything else any other time, right? And so it's so we do that, right? We accumulate all of our furniture. We've got all this furniture. We've got all these things on the wall that so that when people come over, they go, oh my God, your house is so beautiful and your furniture is so lovely and all this stuff, right? But what do we do when we're sitting on it? We're going, oh, man, this is not that comfortable. I don't really like this couch, right? Why do we have this couch? Well, because it looks cool and it's in fashion or something, right?
Right.
And and why do we have this house, this giant house? Like, our house was huge. I mean, you've been there, and it was massive. And we're like, why do we have all this stuff, all this space, right? We don't use it. I mean, when our kids weren't in our house, when they were at their other parents' house, we wouldn't even go downstairs for a week.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't go down to the lower level of our house for a week because we didn't need to. And so we just when we moved, we got rid of all of our possessions except for our clothing because we were moving into a motorhome. We didn't need any of that stuff.
How did your life change? Like, what did you end up missing? Do you remember missing anything?
Oh my God, no, we didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
We missed absolutely nothing. The only thing that I missed is having a garage to work on cars.
Oh, sure.
Right? That's the only thing that I missed. But as far as oh, man, I wish we still had that chair, and I wish I could still sit on that couch, and I wish I could still look at our 60-inch TV or whatever. It's like, no, none of that.
Yeah.
None of that. What happened was when we got the motorhome, we sold our house in the morning, closed on it, bought the motorhome in the afternoon, drove it down to Denver, stopped on the way to Denver, got a mattress at Denver Mattress. And seriously, bud, we bought a new mattress at Denver Mattress, came down, and I tell you, that mattress is the only thing that we still talk about.
Really?
Because we still have it. It's
That's hilarious.
mattress. But it's like that's the only possession that I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Well, and you did it, like I said, you did it before, like for
Yeah.
Andrew and I, to sell our house and our gym and go on the road full time. Like we watched a couple of years worth of YouTube videos to get ready. Like I felt like I was coached. You guys were like trailblazers. You were just
we
like,
just did it.
well, and I remember because you guys had that house back at the time, like that thing was like almost $750,000 back then.
Yeah.
Like nowadays it's worth crazy amount. And like you guys walked away and were like, no, and that's how I took it. It's like you guys were literally like, no, there's more to our lives and we're gonna bet on ourselves.
Yep. Yeah. And that's it, is we really just consolidated down to us. Right. Yep. And we realized that all that other stuff was really a distraction and really more of like just an anchor, right? A ball and chain. And it was like, because all you're doing is trying to work to maintain that.
Yeah.
But then you're like, well, what about you? What about you?
I think you just said something that Andrea and I have been talking about because we've been out here now. I'm close to 6 months by the time this airs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I agree with you. All the stuff you accumulate in life and all the things are a distraction from you getting to know you.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing, is that so many people don't want to look at themselves.
Yes.
Right? They don't want to see, because it's the whole thing. They don't want to see that they're miserable where they are.
Right.
They don't want to acknowledge that.
Dude, that is so true. Like, that's one of the things we talk about when people ask us, like, what's the biggest adjustment? How do you guys do, the two of you in such small space all the time?
Got to get a new car. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we think is this forces us to actually deal with self-improvement.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Because I can't just go like, oh, I'm going to go to work tonight. I'm pissed off. I'll talk about it tomorrow. And then we never talk about it.
Then you never talk about it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's the two of us in, I don't know, like 200 square feet of space all the time.
Yeah. And you can't not be aware of the other person.
No.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're right there.
Yeah. I still remember, like I can physically just still remember like driving by that house and be like, what are these two doing? Like they're going to sell all this. Yep. Live in an RV. And now I'm like, dude, I wish you guys could have YouTubed that. You could have been like the OGs of the RV world.
I know, right? Just making that decision. Well, but that's the thing, man, is that unless you're saying, you know what, I want to take on myself. I want to kind of get into that battle with myself, right? Making myself deal with myself. If you're not willing to do that, then you can't you can't do that kind of stuff, right? Like, you guys sit there and do it. Like when you did it and you're talking about, hey, we're now gutting this, RV and we're redoing it and we're redoing. That's, like we did kind of a ready, fire, aim thing, right? And you guys were doing like ready, aim. But see, that gives you more time to back out, right?
Dude, you ain't met my
Right.
wife. We ain't backing out of nothing.
But see, that's well, I know, but that's the thing. You guys, that's how you know that you're focused on wanting to make that change, right? You're focused on wanting to get to that next part because you're in that preparation for a while.
Yeah.
But and it's good in two ways. What we did, we just more or less jumped off the cliff and we're like, okay, we got to learn to fly right now.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, okay, we're gonna build the airplane, or we're gonna build the glider and make sure that we got this, and then we're off. And that's fine too, but you're saying, oh no, we're committed to this.
Yeah.
And you're able to constantly evaluate that, right?
But I think that goes back to just the awareness to, like you said, to be willing to take on yourself and not settle for comfort. And then two, look around and be like, okay, who is doing things I maybe wanted to do in my life and how do they do it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But now I don't have to do it exactly like them. Like I don't have to copy everything.
No.
But I can follow the courage.
Correct. Yes. No, because that's the thing. It's like if you look at it, you had two couples who took totally different routes, right?
Yeah.
To move two different, and I don't want to say to get where you're going because you're not there yet, right?
No.
It's the journey, it's kind of journey. But we took one on ramp and you guys took another on ramp.
Yeah.
Onto that road, right?
Yeah.
We're still on the road. We're both still on the road. We just took different on ramps.
Good analogy, because a lot of people that second guessed us or naysayed or made you even doubt yourself, they're still at the bus station waiting for a ride.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah, they're still trying to figure out how to get to the road. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And then and then they're making up all these reasons why they can't. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, we need to, we need to make sure the car's okay. Right.
Yeah. And I'll share this for our community, for every one Marc Neal, when I would tell my ideas to him, he's like, oh, dude, that sounds awesome. There are 10 people that would tell me all the reasons why it's a dumb idea and why I shouldn't do it and why I couldn't do it. But you know what? Like, you get to choose who you're going to listen to.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's the weight of responsibility. And I love how you said it. Like, you want to take on yourself. And that is really core, right? Like, I didn't want to settle for just being what I'd already been. And Andrea didn't want to just live in a house we had raised our kids, hoping that they would come home to visit us someday. Like, we knew there had to be more in life.
Yeah.
All right, let's transition, Marc. I want to talk about a philosophy you shared with me in getting ready for this that I love. I love, and I want to hear you explain it to our community. And that's thinking win-win for your encounters with other people.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like it's a win-win. But we look at everything as a competition, right? We look at, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. We just went through the last 5 years of that, right? In a world with a very influential person, who has a perspective that in order to everything be okay, I've got to win and somebody else has to lose. And we look at everything as a competition, and we look at everything as comparison. Like, just the other day, I was talking with somebody, and they said something, and they said, well, what about this, that, the other thing? And I said, why does everything have to be a competition? Why do we have to compare? Why can't we just go, this is a problem, or this is okay the way it is? Sure. And so my thing is always like, with what is a win-win? It's not that, it doesn't have to be, I've won and you've won and we're even, that we're the same. It's that you got what you needed out of it, and I got what I needed out of it. And maybe what you needed out of it is more than what I needed out of it. right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. So by that I mean, like, my big analogy has always been, people say, well, you need to be willing to meet somebody halfway. And I'm like, no, you don't need to be willing to go halfway. You need to be willing to go all the way. You need to be willing to go as far as you need to go to reach that person, to meet that person. And I say it like this, like, the side of the street, right? We always go, oh, you need to go halfway across the street. And I mean, no, what if the person on the other side of the street can't step off the curb?
Yeah.
They don't know how to step off the curb. They don't know where to cross or anything like that. You're going to have to go all the way across the street, meet up with them, talk to them, reassure them that it's going to be okay, right? Help them out, educate them, and then show them the way to your side of the street.
Yes.
Right. And so, and then that's still a win-win. Yeah,
Right.
you had to put in more effort than they did, but really, did you? Because what you're doing is you're sharing knowledge that you have. For them, they may have had to make a whole paradigm shift, right? They may have had to really do some emotional wrestling to go, oh, this new way of looking at things is okay. I can cross the street safely, not get hit by a car or anything like that, right? Not I can leave this guaranteed, $80,000 a year job with benefits and step out on my own and go down to making nothing for a period of time in order to build back up and actually be rewarded for my efforts, right? Solely on my efforts. That might be a harder lesson for them to learn than it is for you to teach it to them. So you have to realize that it's still a win-win, because they were able to experience a change in themselves, and you were actually able to do, kind of your whole reason for your podcast, the On Purpose podcast, is you were able to actually realize your purpose for being on this earth, which is to create relationships and help other people where they are.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. And I was reading Matthew McConaughey's book. I don't know if you read that, Green Lights.
No, I haven't.
Oh, fantastic book. Super good book. And he shares a story of being, I can't remember, India, maybe somewhere in Asia. And he's sitting down and he's with two guys and they're arguing about something, right? The one brother's arguing, the other brother's arguing, and he listens for a while, and then he picks a side and basically says, like, I believe this brother's right. And the brother he said right yells at him, like, that's the whole point. There's no right or wrong. There's only understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to how much of our time is spent trying to be right or wrong instead of just understanding somebody else's view.
Yeah. No, and that's it, right? It's the win-win. And in order for me to win, you've got to lose.
Right. Yeah. Or for me to be right, you got to be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And that just, and so when we do that, everything is geared towards that, right? Everything is geared to, and so then what do we start to do? We start to manipulate, we start to cheat.
Yeah. Yeah.
To win this. I'm in Target one day, right? And Monopoly games. I've had a lot of Monopoly games through my life. I've had different ones, like, different cities and I like, and I don't know where they are now, but I was going to buy a Monopoly game, and I'm looking at Monopoly, and they have one called the Cheaters Edition. And so the whole goal in it is for you to cheat throughout the game different ways. And I was like, why are we teaching that? Why are we teaching that it's okay to cheat? Well, it's like we hear, right? In policing, you've heard it for the whole time. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Right.
And I'm like, that's just a bunch of BS, man.
Yeah.
To me. Because all that does is that reinforces that it's okay to have a lack of character, to have a lack of integrity. That it's okay. Yeah. And to me, it's absolutely not okay.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I love that. What about, I want to hear, how has being around Ali and the yoga, because she embodies that. Like, she didn't just go to some random class. Like, she went to India.
Yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah, a couple times.
What has that influence brought to you, and how would you say you've grown or changed from it?
Oh, massive. I mean, and she doesn't know. She'll find it out every once in a while. Like I'll be talking about something else. Say, yeah, I told somebody this, and based on that, and I'll go, yeah, I got that from you. And she's like, oh, okay. Oh, you were listening, right? But what that did, right? And what listening to her and talking with her and learning from her about how you see yourself and your place in this world, and whether or not you believe in that, you create this world, and everything that is happening in your world is is of your creation. And so, if you're having a hard time, well, you created that, right? Somebody else didn't just create it for you. You created that for lessons to be learned. The goal is for you to figure out what those lessons are, right?
Yeah.
What you're supposed to be learning. And so talking with her about that, years and years ago, started me down that road of going, all right, Mark, you need to be willing to take on yourself. You need to be willing to look at yourself, and not in a superficial manner, but actually see what you're all about, which then in turn helped me to realize, okay, why am I in policing for real? Well, it's for the thing that I've always said is I'm trying to create, build, and maintain positive relationships with the community, and get the community to do that between themselves by being an example, like being a role model of what that looks like,
Sure.
right? Of what a steward to a society or a community looks like, what a guardian of a community looks like. And so then that propelled me into the training side of things, because I wanted to teach other police officers how to occupy that space, right? How to understand what a guardian is. Because you see, it, there's this whole thing of, oh, police officers, we're warriors and we're this and that, and we're fighting these battles. I'm like, no, we're not. We're guardians. We're protecting our community, and we're teaching the community how to be good stewards of each other, right? And how to be good community members. That's what we should be modeling and what we should be doing. And so learning all these things from Allie and talking with her was allowed me to shift my perspective towards myself. And then once I did that, because like what she talks about is, it's always just about you. Everything is about you. Is because it's like, if you're having problems, what are you doing wrong?
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? And so it's always that. So you have to always, don't look at the other person and don't go, that person's just a jerk, that's why, I'm the way I am. Well, no, it's not. You're a jerk, so that's why you're the way you are. So you have to look at why you're a jerk.
Sure.
Everything comes back to you. And once I was able to do that, then it's like, okay, now I can go, well, yeah, I changed myself. So let me talk to other police officers and say, hey, let's start looking at ourselves. Let's not look at the criminal and go, hey, the problem is the criminal. If the criminal just didn't commit crimes, everything would be great, right? If there were no criminals, I wouldn't, shoot the child who's, over, whatever, you know what I mean? Because that stuff is happening. You look at just in the last year, how many situations of police officers shoot children during critical incidents, shoot children that had nothing to do with the critical incident. And you're like, and then we want to blame the criminal in the event. And it's like, well, no, because the police officer is the one who's supposed to be accountable. The police officer is the one who's supposed to have the accountability and responsibility to do the correct thing in that situation, not the criminal. The criminal is going to make the bad decision. So, but if we look at other people, if we're trying to say, hey, if that person behaves better, then I'll do better.
Right.
Well, that's never going to happen.
And you could apply that to all aspects of life, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, always. Everything. My business is terrible, right? Or my business is sagging because, my customers aren't smart enough to figure things out, right? And that I've got the best product. Well, okay, but what are you doing to get that message out there? What are you doing to help people to understand you have the best product? Are they just supposed to know that?
Right.
Or relationships, right? Well, if my spouse would just do XYZ differently, our relationship would be better. Well, what about you? What are you doing? Right. And if it truly is a situation where you're flawless and you're doing great and you're doing everything and your spouse is absolutely operating at 10%, well, then why are you still in the relationship?
Sure.
Obviously you realize that you're probably not putting the maximum effort you could be doing. So
Yeah.
that's why you still keep thinking, well, maybe it'll change. Maybe I'll change. Well, yeah, maybe. But the only way you'll change is if you're willing to confront yourself and take on yourself.
Yeah. That's a good term, confronting yourself.
Yeah.
I do, we shy away from the word confrontation a lot of times, right? Because it epitomizes me versus you, or a physical fight follows. But what if we confront ourselves? I mean, right? We're fighting the lies we tell ourselves, the past actions we hide behind, or the laurels we still give ourselves that we know we're not earning.
Correct. Yes, exactly. And that's the thing though, is and this is something I learned from Allie too, is and I use this in my trainings, I use this in my diversity trainings, in my tactical trainings, everything. And I say, terms and words have no meaning other than that which we give them, right? So when we say confront is just a word. It's neutral. We determine whether it's a positive term or a negative term. And so what have we, the connotations for confront are negative, like you said. We go, oh, it's a battle, it's a fight, it's an army. No, it's confront. It's just I'm gonna take it on directly.
Sure.
Right. And so if you look at it in one of the biggest things is I read Buddha and read some of his teachings and things like that, is because people say, oh, Buddha is, they kind of try to equate him with Jesus and things, and it's like Buddha was like, no, I'm just an ordinary man. I'm just a person who I've just been willing to take on myself, right? And if you read a lot of his works and all that stuff, he's constantly saying, no, don't look at me like I'm something special. I'm not. And but that's the thing is one of the things that he talked about is avoid that judgment, right? Stop trying to put judgment on everything. And the same with if you read the Tao, right? The Tao Te Ching, same thing is keep that neutrality. Stop putting that positive or negative judgment, because once you do, that's where misery comes in.
Yeah.
Right. Because either you're saying, oh, I'm a bad person, so now you're miserable, or you're like, yeah, I'm fantastic. And then the moment something happens to change that perception, now you get crushed.
True.
Right. And then you, oh man, I'm horrible on this. But if you keep that neutrality, you're like, hey man, I'm just am. Right. I'm not good, I'm not bad, I just am. And if I don't like where I am right now, let me decide where I want to be different and how I want to be different, and move to that direction.
Dude, I love that. All right, Marc, as we wrap up episode 150, I like you coined a term today that I'm going to use, is that's confronting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What are a couple tips you would give to our community listeners if they're still on the fence about facing some of the things they've been telling themselves? How would you say to get them? What would you say to get them moving towards that confrontation and that honesty with themselves?
Just one of the biggest things is be kind to yourself, man. Just start out being kind to yourself. I got this new job, so going in, you have to wear masks and everything, and that's cool. And then I walk in the other night, and the guy's got a mask on and says, "Be kind." And I was like, "That's fantastic," because I'm big on the whole thing, be good to people, right? And I really like the mask, be kind, because I have one too. In a world where you can be anything, be kind.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is it's got to start with yourself, right? Don't worry about other people. If you worry about yourself, being kind to yourself, allowing yourself, that will naturally translate to other people. Because once you start to be okay with yourself, because really we're not okay with other people because we're not okay with ourselves.
That's the truth,
right?
huh?
Right. So I'm not happy about my weight. So then I start looking at other people, go, oh, they're overweight and they're overweight and they're overweight, right? And because I'm not happy with my weight, where if I was okay with myself and said, you know what, my weight is neither good nor bad. It's just where I am right now. And I'm either okay with being there or I don't want to be there. And then make the changes accordingly. But we just have to start out being kind with ourselves. And then, my whole thing is compassion, having compassion for yourself, and empathy for yourself, where you are, the struggles that you've gone through, the struggles that you've overcome, right? The trials that you've overcome, like with your whole, your trials MMA, your studio, right? The whole thing there was, yeah, we're here to learn a martial arts and mixed martial arts and other things like that for the physical side, but we're also here to learn about ourselves on the metaphysical, the emotional, the psychological side, right?
Dude, that was so important.
Right. And that's a whole different level, because we like to operate in the superficial, right? Oh, if I just stay here, let me look good. I got this nice car. I, live in a wonderful house and everything's so great. But deep down inside, you're torn up. Well, it's like I tell people, I go, you can't build a house starting with the roof. You got to build the foundation first.
That's true. And we spend so much time trying to build ourselves with our haircuts, how we look up top, and we don't spend any time inside. So,
yeah,
dude, I love it, Marc. Man, we could keep talking forever, but I got to let you go, my friend.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much for joining us on our 3rd anniversary episode 150 of the On Purpose podcast. Where can our community members keep in touch with you, Marc? Where would you like them to find you?
Oh, you can find me for my company, for training company, which, I like to say I'm human-centered, principle-based police tactical training. So I look at things very different from most police trainers. But my site, Onyx TG, like Onyx Training Group, onyxtg.com, Facebook, Onyx Training Group. I'm a little bit on Instagram, not so much anymore. Onyx Training Group, and I have a YouTube channel for Onyx Training Group.
Nice.
I wrote a book.
You did.
Like you
got it done.
I took it from you. I took it from you. I wrote the book. I got it done. And it's called Growing Guardians and Training Sheepdogs. And I just look at the cover here. It's like using human-centered, principle-based police training, improving accountability, confidence, and decision-making, and restoring public trust in relationships.
Love
and
it.
it's just about how we prepare, train, and support our police officers, and where I think we're deficient and what I think we can be doing to improve it. And I wrote it originally for law enforcement, but I really think that civilians need to read it and to understand the reality of what the profession is going through right now.
Dude, I think that's so important, right? Like if the communities want better relations with police officers, which I think most places do, it's huge. It's kind of, that would be a great example, what you said earlier, right? Meeting them, not halfway, but all the way as a community member, instead of just sitting back saying, I want my police to be different. Let me cross the street and see why you won't come to my side.
Yeah, exactly. And let me talk to you. Let me see why you're doing what you're doing. And then let's talk about how I'd like to see you be different. Not just me standing on my side of the street throwing rocks. Be different, be different, be different, right?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't work.
All right, bro. I appreciate you so much, Marc Neal.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for having me on with this. I've been thinking, man, I want to get on Jerrod's podcast, man. I look at
dude, I had to save you 3-year anniversary, bro.
I know.
You're big time.
Hey, like I told you, but I'm truly humbled with that. And just, yours and my relationship, as long as we've known each other, and how I see you as, you talk about, me being a mentor to you, but it's like as much, if not more, I look at you and what you've got going on, and that helps give me the strength to overcome my insecurities and overcome my fear of stepping out. Right.
Well, I greatly appreciate you're a role model to many, and I appreciate you for being on the show.
Yeah. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.